Hey, Roxanne, can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear
Okay,
you.
just making sure. Just making sure.
All right. Hello. Can everyone hear me?
Yes.
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 Okay,
Yes.
perfect. We are going to go ahead and get started here. Today is August 24th, and we are here for the Individual Development Account IDA 022 webinar. My name is Desiree Island. I am the IDA and NAP Program Manager here at IHCDA. Can everyone see my screen? Yep. All right. Thank you. All right. So for today, we actually have Lisa Ditchley here with us and Roxanne Collins. They are going to discuss a little bit of IHCDA online and answer any questions you may have when it comes to our claim system. We will then discuss the IDA summary and review, go over the program timeline, talk about participant recruitment and eligibility. Then we'll dive into account structure, and then last, ways to contact IHCDA. All right, so for all of you that don't know IHCDA online, basically, this is IHCDA's database to submit any claims. So you do need access for this. If you're a new IDA agency or a new staff at an IDA agency, you're going to want to have access. So I will go ahead and let Lisa and Roxanne take it away. I'll go ahead and stop sharing.
Thanks, Desiree. Hello, everybody. Thanks for the great introduction, Desiree. I am Lisa Ditchley, and most of the time when you are submitting questions or issues or permission-based questions, you will be most of the time speaking with me. If you're doing third-party claims, which we refer to as your match claims, you'll be dealing with me. For your grantee IDA payments for reimbursement for the administrative duties and functions that you're performing as part of the IDA program, you will be dealing with Roxanne. So I'm going to do a very brief overview of the
Actually,
system. How many new
actually,
people?
that will be Amber,
Oh,
Lisa.
it will be Amber now. Okay, great. That's fine.
Yeah.
That's great. So, all right. Well, that's fine. We can answer the questions, and Amber can do the claims, and you'll get to know her. The admin claims are very simple claims. Not a lot of money there that gets spent on that side of the fence. So that won't really be that difficult of a transition. Okay, I'm going to talk about the online system. As Desiree mentioned before, In order to access the system, you'll need to send an email to the claims inbox, which Desiree had on her first slide, and we can put in the chat part as well at some point. And just tell me what organization you're with and that you are part of the IDA program and that you would like access. I will send you the information on how to establish a profile. And once, how many of you are new users? Do we have a lot? I look and I see a lot of names that I know. So I'm sure there's a few, but I see a lot of names I know. I don't want to waste anybody's time if we all know how to use the system.
Still sort of new.
Okay, that's fine. Oh, you're fine. You're still sort of new. We'll go through it.
I mean,
All
I
right,
can
so
get it, but
do you have access to the system tomorrow? Yes.
yes.
Okay. All right. So we won't even go through that.
Okay.
We'll just go straight into the actual system once you have your all of that established. Okay, that's where we'll start. And so this looks like our login screen. Can everybody see my screen? Just give me one yes from someone. Okay.
Yes.
All right, perfect. All right, so this is the screen you come to when you click on Authority Online or you go to Google and you Google IHCDA Online. It'll set you to this screen right here. We won't discuss the new user part, but this is also where you establish your profile. I have it set up to be in an actual IDA situation. So I should be able, there we go, to log in as a test training person here. So when you log in, most of you will see several different things. I know some of you, like Elaine, I saw Elaine in there, and I know she does lots of different claims for lots of different programs. Some of you will see your NAP button. Some of you will see your IDA button. Some of you will see just the awards claim management button. For IDA, one might think that you should go in here and you'd be able to create a claim, but it's more so to do with bank account information for IDA, which is really tricky for a third party, which we'll go over in just a minute. When you talk about submitting claims for IDA, go to Awards Claim Management, and you'll be able to pick your award. You can go to Create Claim, and you should see a drop down that has, for some of you that are with partners that have several different programs, you're going to see a humongous drop down of items and lists through here that are all different programs that we offer here at IHCDA. For the purpose of this particular demonstration, it's going to be this test program. I talked about this a little bit earlier. It's very distinct in IDA. Everything is kind of a little bit different with this particular program because we're dealing with match funding that goes into separate bank accounts for those participants. So for your administrative side, you will choose Grantee Payment. For your match side, you will choose third-party payment. For this demonstration, I'm just going to do the Grantee Payment. It will contain the match line item in it anyway, but those two types of claims have to be filed separately for IDA. In most of our other programs, you can claim every line item inside every claim. It's very important that if you're submitting a match situation, that you don't submit it as a grantee payment. That should come straight back to you in the form of a denial, asking you to zero that claim out and file it as a third-party payment. Is everyone pretty understanding of that? That those are two completely and need to be kept separate? Okay. We will do for this demonstration a grantee payment. And you will see all of the definitions down here. The third-party payment, again, definition on here doesn't really fall in line with IDA because this system was not built with IDA in mind at the time. So we kind of have to just we had to figure out a way to keep the match separate from the administrative. So we're going to hit create claim, and that's going to provide to us a 6-digit receipt number. That receipt number is going to be your golden ticket when you email the claims inbox or your claim specialist, you'll always want to reference that 6-digit number. It makes it a great deal easier to locate the issue and try to help you resolve in a timely manner if we have the 6-digit receipt number, which is right here. In this case, it is 297522. Okay. Down here in my fake budget land, I have this entire award this screen is a snapshot of your entire award. So as you can see, the balance and the budget that's in every single line item that I have here. I have my 2,500 for admin, my match, which I'm not going to be claiming in this grantee payment, the state asset purchase, and the state graduation. So we're just going to actually do an admin claim, straight up admin right now. So this is going to be anytime you want to see what is left in your budget, you can also do that here in the balance section. You'll see it when we come back to the screen before we submit it, that we will have it'll show a different balance updated with what we claimed. So up here at the top, you have a summary screen. This is the 2,000-foot snapshot. You have the claim tab. This claim tab is actually where you're going to put the dollar amount in that you are wishing to be reimbursed for. In this claim reference number, you can put whatever you'd like. A lot of people just do numerical order of the claims that they have, which is absolutely fine. If it is, if you have a certain code word or something that you need to use on your end, feel free to put that there. There's no limit on what you can put there. And we do not really see what you put in there. Okay, so down here, you'll see all the items that are available to you. And in this particular one, we're going to just claim some admin. We're just going to claim $100 on our admin. Easy peasy. We have to go down all the way to the bottom of the screen, and we must click save on this screen. Okay. We have to save that. A lot of people make the mistake of they put dollar amounts in there and then they go outside of this screen. They get all the way to the end and they're like, I can't submit my claim. Well, that's because the system doesn't think that you're trying to claim anything. So we really need to take time and make sure that we click the save button there. Also, if this were a third-party claim, a lot of our partners in this comment section, if this were a match claim, they might say match for Roxanne Collins. You know, they might, if there's 3 of people, they might say match for Roxanne Collins, Lisa Ditchley, Desiree Island, and then they click save after they've entered their amount. I think this helps a great deal when you're doing a third party claim, because I know when I look at your claims tool, which we'll talk about in a second, that who I'm looking for and looking at the data that you have for them as far as their savings and their match go. So that's very helpful to us if you'd like to do that. It probably helps on the partners end as well, I would think. So now that I have clicked save, any of you who work in the system at all know that we have to upload some type of supporting documentation in order for the claim to go through. In your admin claim, it will be basically it will be invoices, receipts for supplies, or payroll. And I think Roxanne can cover that later. For the third-party claims, it will be the IDA match tool. And for those of you that have not gone through that before, Desiree can provide you with that as well. You're going to click claim documentation and you're going to hit submit document. For anyone new, you'll know that your document was uploaded by when you see it below the word submit document down here. At that point in time, you'll know that it's actually uploaded into the system, but you cannot delete it at that point. You can view it again, which is fine, but you can't delete that document, and it will be kept for historical data purposes, just kind of a policy we have here. So there are times that, like, if you uploaded something crazy, you could get a hold of one of us and we could get approval to remove that for you. But for the most part, if it's in there, it's in there. So once we have that, you're going to go back to the summary screen because we now know that we have entered our amount and that we have our supporting documentation uploaded into the system. And on the summary screen, you're going to see that we have claimed in our admin $100, and you will see a reflection of that once we submit stuff. I think if this is hooked up correctly, I think this is in my tester, so you'll have to bear with me. The totals down here will be reflected in the $10,000 budget, 9,900 after the 100 is reduced. So then you'll go to the bottom of the screen and you will click on the submit claim button. Several partners make the mistake of creating the entire claim, getting everything ready, and they don't click submit, so it doesn't get pushed through the system. So very important to submit the claim itself. And then once you do that, there's not going to be some magical message that says this claim has been submitted successfully. That's kind of just a bummer because the system really doesn't contain any AI to give you that information. It's strictly data driven. So whatever you put in, you get out. And unfortunately, there's not an approval message for you at that phase in the game. So there is one easy way for you as you go through this process, as I know many of you do other claims with us, for you to be able to see the status that your claim is in. When you log in, when you first log into the system, you come to this page. If you go to your awards claim management screen, like you would if you were going to create a claim, you will see that claim living there. You can always go in and click that claim. And once you do that, you can go into the claim status bar up here. And you can see where in the process that claim is at. So this one I have not submitted yet, so it's in claim submission. It'll only be in claim submission in two different scenarios. One, it was never submitted. Two, it was submitted and denied back to you for additional documentation or, an issue with the actual claim review. Those are the only two times that claim will be in claim submission. From claim submission, it goes into claim review. Claim review means that our claims team has it in its hands and will be reviewing it in first come, first serve order. Some of you, we'll go through the rest of that in just a second. Okay, so claim submission, claim review. It then goes into accounting review after the claims team has looked at the claim and it has been approved. At accounting review, it then goes to ACH transfer. Now, for a long time around here, ACH transfer meant that the money was actually sent out to you. Now, that lingo has changed a bit, and ACH transfer means that the claim is being batched for payment, which means you're probably looking at 24 to 48 hours before that claim is actually paid out to you. If you go into this status and you see complete, that means that the transfer has taken place and you should see the money in your bank account. For a third party, that means that the bank should have received the money into the holding account and then be dispersing that money to the different participants. Okay. Claim submission, claim review, accounting review, ACH transfer completed. Does anyone have any questions about the status? Okay.
We do have a few comments in
Sure,
the
go ahead.
chat. So James Shui, I think I'm saying that right. He said, I agree to add the notes in the comment box, and it really helps when you need to verify the amount or client that we claim a particular year.
Sure. Yes, it's very
Um,
helpful inside that claims tool when I go to look at that match tool and I'm looking, if you have all the names of your participants in there and all the numbers, I'm like, okay, so who's this for? It helps me. I don't have to email you and say, hey, who is this for? It really does speed up the process tremendously.
okay. He also had a question.
Sure.
Here he's asking if they can delete the claim before it's submitted.
Yes, if you make a mistake and you have not submitted the claim, you are absolutely free to delete that claim. That's exactly what I'm going to go in and do when I'm done with this presentation is delete that. Once you have submitted it, if it comes back to you and it's been denied, you cannot delete it. At that point, it would have to be zeroed, what we call zeroed out, which means that we would go in and zero out those numbers, or you need to use it again. And that would be my first answer, as Roxanne would agree with me. You need to reuse that claim, make the monetary adjustments in the line items, and do it that way. And even if you mess up and you submit a third party as a grantee and they deny it back to you, you can still, for your next grantee payment, use that particular claim. You just can't use that transaction claim listed as grantee for a third party payment, if that makes sense at all. That's the only question. Most of everybody here I know is pretty familiar with everything, so I don't really think.
It looks like, let's see, Jacqueline Washington has her hand up.
Sure.
I have a quick question. When you talk
Mhm.
about supporting documentation for the
Mhm.
admin
Yes.
part, and you said payroll, so with my timesheet,
Yeah.
is that what do you mean?
Yes, they're actually going to talk about that shortly,
Okay,
and
okay.
they'll be way more specific about you know, I'm sure Desiree is going to talk about it, or Roxanne can talk about it. It doesn't much matter. On the admin side, um, it is payroll and your admin stuff, and they can talk about. It's usually a general ledger and your timesheets. That's
Okay.
usually where it falls. And on third party, really all I need is that match tool. I don't need the deposits for their bank deposits on their match. Um, I oh, did I just go out of the meeting? Okay, am I still here? Hey, okay, maybe. All right, cool. All right, I wanted to be able to see people as I'm talking to them because that's driving me kind of crazy. But yeah, so there's only one piece of documentation that's needed for the third party, and if any auditors need to see more than that, then you can supply the actual bank deposit slips for that. The one thing I did want to talk about that is strictly about third party payments for anyone that's new. Um, IDA again is kind of a different program. So your bank account information for your organization for your administrative claims, your grantee payments, that will go directly to your organization. So we will need ACH information with that payment plan on it, like where you want that to go. We'll need a routing number, bank number, account number. For third party, we need your holding account information. Um, you can get that information when you establish that holding account with the bank, but we are not allowed to transfer third party funds into your organization's bank account. That is a federal violation of this program. So we cannot do that. We have to know there's an established holding account. And you can do that two different ways. If you have a holding account or you have an update to a holding account, you can send that to the claims inbox and say, hey, I need to update my IDA third party holding account banking information. I will send you an updated ACH form that will keep the information encrypted. They were working on a brand new file last week. So you can send that back to me and we can get your holding account information updated. That's if you're brand new to the system at that time and you've never done IDA third party, please let me know. That requires a bit more setup on my end because we have to cross map things systemically for me in the system in order for our Great Plains payment system to get that money to the correct account. If you are already established and you've been doing this for years, you know what I'm talking about. But if you need updates to your ACH information, you just need to reach out to me and we'll handle it together. We'll go through the process together. The system's pretty easy. If you've never used it, it's pretty forward. There's no tricks involved. Does anyone else have any questions? And at any point, I am available. You can email me and say, hey, I got a few questions. Can you call me? We'll be more than happy to accommodate whatever issues that you might have.
Lisa, I have a question that we get a
Sure.
lot. Regarding the ACH forms, now if there are changes, do administrators need to submit an ACH form for the match account as well as their admin account? So two different forms?
Yes, that's exactly how I would prefer it. And the ACH forms that they have right now or that I could send right now, I just need you to put at the top, match for, this organization, third part or like IDA match and admin, because they are two separate things. And if you just send it to us, I don't know which account it's for. Is it for your organization, which a lot of people on here, they use the same bank account as they do for a million other programs. So if you were to switch every payment that goes to that organization to that holding account, we'd be in big trouble. So we just have to really be specific about what accounts you're wanting me to change. There is a way to do it inside the system, but right now for third party, they're asking that because of the new mapping that has to be done as they update the system, that ACH is sent to me. Claims inbox, one or the other.
Thank you.
Okay. Anybody else have any other questions? Good. Well, if you do, you all know I'm available. Shoot me an email. I will help in any way possible. I know Roxanne's going to talk about the uh, admin rules probably. Desiree, you're going to cover the tool. Is that correct?
I'm not going in depth with the tool today, just kind of general stuff and
Okay.
what's required.
Okay.
Yes.
Awesome. If anyone else has any issues, just let me know and I will jump off here and let everybody else take over. Okay.
Thanks, Lisa.
Have a great day, everyone. Bye bye.
Hello. That was a lot of information, Lisa. It was good information. Pretty much with the admin side of your claims, there is really only two things that are required. That's going to be your ledger of charges. That ledger needs to show us exactly what you're claiming and payroll documentation for any of the payroll that you're claiming. Very rarely do I see that you guys send in anything else other than that. But if you happen to send any other admin charges and they're over $1,000, then an invoice is required. But outside of that, that's all I really need. Um, the IDA claims, the admin claims that have been coming in have looked really great. So, um, Lisa, did you have anything else? Nope. Desiree,
No, I don't think so. Are
that's all
there
I
any
have.
other questions for the claims folks?
When you talk about the ledger charges, is that a specific form that you guys provide, or can I just make up a
No,
spreadsheet?
no, we need a ledger that just tells us exactly what you're claiming.
Okay,
So,
thank you.
yeah, it can be something you've typed up. It just needs to provide, just like any other ledger, the date, the name of the vendor, or if it's payroll, the name of the person, how much, and yeah. So, and it needs to tell us that it's payroll. But that's usually all we ever see within the IDA admin claims is payroll. Now, if for some reason I do have to put a claim on hold and keep it because it's missing documentation, you have 3 business days, and then I have to deny it. 3 business days to get that uploaded. Just respond to the email letting me know that you've uploaded it. I'll go in and review it. But if not, I have to deny it and just put it back in your hands so that you have additional time to review or to correct that claim. I think really that this is actually one of my less complicated awards. So, does anyone else have questions about that? Nope. Okay, Desiree, it's all for you.
Okay, thank you so much, Roxanne. Have a good
Okay,
one.
you too.
All right, we're going to get back to the PowerPoint here in a second. All right. So can everyone see the screen?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay. Thank you. Um, just a few housekeeping things I forgot to go over. If you're not speaking, if you would please mute your microphone. Sorry. So this webinar will be recorded. I'm hoping to get it posted on the IDA website probably early next week at the latest. Um, if you have any questions, feel free to raise your hand throughout the PowerPoint. I have Alexa Carr with me today. She is our graduate assistant. So she'll be helping me kind of monitor the chat box because if I'm sharing my screen, I can't necessarily see both at the same time. So we will continue on. So for the IDA program summary, all of you are probably well aware and can read. It originated in 1997, and in 2016 was the last year of the federal award. So it expired in last year. All right, so assets are defined as job training, expanding a small business, home purchasing, repairing your home, or purchasing a motor vehicle for the purpose of education, job training, or employment. So how does the program work? An individual or family has to be below that 200% federal poverty level. Ideally, the participant will save $500 and is matched $1,500 total. So that is the most they can be matched is that 1,500. Participants will save that 1,500 and be matched 45, equaling $6,000. The participant will also receive financial literacy and asset specific training. So that's kind of just the overall broad view of the IDA program. So I put together just a little timeline, just looking at this current award. So the first year, everyone has signed their grant agreements. Thank you so much. I've received all of those back. We want to continue finalizing relationships with your financial institutions. There's just a few MOAs that I have not received. Other than that, we are good to go. So the first 6 months of your grant, you want to focus on, program outreach. Getting those applicants in here, reviewing them, and working with the participants who are willing to come on board. They must deposit a minimum of $25, and then they need to start thinking of what asset they are wanting to purchase. And that will depend on the type of education and specific asset training they need to complete. Year 2 to 3. So ideally, we want the participant to make regular savings over the course of the next few years. I know that's always, easier said than done. A participant is super engaged at the beginning and kind of, falls off. And we understand life happens. So we want to put in those supports, provide them case management and education to support them through this process because we all know people can lose their jobs. Things may happen to where they are not able to save on a regular basis. But ideally, that's what we would like to see. And then as administrators, we ask that you submit claims on a quarterly basis as needed. So if you don't have, I hope this doesn't happen, but if you don't have any claims or any matches you need to submit for the entire quarter, obviously you won't have anything to submit. But if you do have payroll, if you do have match that you do need to submit, that will be completed quarterly, just so that we don't get behind. IDA is very strict when it comes to timelines and the total grant year. I know the match, just like last year, the max is $800. So if we're fighting against timelines, we want to make sure we're submitting those claims accordingly. So year 4, so now that the participant has saved, the first 3 years, we want to start wrapping up the grant. We don't want to wait until the last minute. So the last 6 months after the participant has saved and made his or her final contributions, we want to formulate a plan. Before the expiration date, all match claims must be finalized, the asset purchase made, and then that's when we're going to submit that match claims tool into our online database. The IDA account must be closed, and then the grant, as far as the administrator, you have 45 days to submit any lasting or final information, administration claims, or return of funds should you need that process. So, like I said, this is the first 6 months of the grant. We want to really push to get participants. So, just here's some strategies onto just marketing and kind of getting the outreach out there to get participants. Okay, participant eligibility. At the time of the application, there are some requirements for the participant. Like mentioned before, we're at 200% or federal poverty, using the most federal recent poverty guideline, and they did update that last year, and that is posted on our website. And this is an earned income program, so the individual must be bringing in some type of income. The participant must be a resident of the state of Indiana and have no prior IDA. Whether if they were a graduate or non-graduate, they cannot have any prior IDA history. And then depending on your agency, you may have certain requirements, service area limits. So we want to make sure that they're following the guidelines of your agency. Like I mentioned, here is the updated 2022 federal poverty guideline. This is also on our website. It changed just a little bit, but you can see the numbers if you're looking at that guideline. All right, income eligibility documentation. Okay, so when participants are applying for the program, or potential participants, shall I say, they need to submit the most recent pay stubs. This is an earned income program, so we want to ensure that they are working at the time of the application process. Um, a copy of their most federal tax return, and then a copy of their credit score. And like you will see in our manual, it cannot be older than 30 days prior to the application date. So we want recent information. So other income documentation, not everyone receives weekly or monthly paychecks. So there are other options, except especially if you're self-employed. So there's W-2 forms, there's third-party verification of employment, or even a statement signed. In rare situations to verify that the person is employed. And this is only to be used, like I mentioned, if there's no other way to get the above documentation from that participant. We do want to ensure that they are being truthful. Okay, so just some more verification. That application process is very strenuous. So we want the driver's license. We also want verification of address. And every household must present their Social Security card. And other acceptable forms are as well in the manual. Okay, eligibility and readiness. So administrators must take the time to assess the true readiness of the participant, not just eligibility. So you all are working, one-on-one with some of these participants. So you know if this program, not always, but sometimes you can get a good feel if this program is right for the individual. Sometimes it's not always the great fit. And you may want to, speak with them and engage with them and see if they want to, you know, be steady with their job and then maybe come back later to apply for the program. So some questions to consider. I know a lot of people in the community may just think that they could deposit money and the state will just match it right away. So we want them to have understanding. We want them to set goals and to make that commitment. Also, we want to make sure they're on board for the training component that I'll actually speak of a little bit later. So here's just some things to consider. on the screen, just to ensure that they are stable and they do understand the agreement process. There's also a tool on the IDA website if you want to utilize it, and that's just kind of going through ensuring that the applicant is ready. So next we discuss the account structure. So IDAs are set up through parallel accounts. So there's obviously a savings one and a match account. So for the savings is the participant's money only. So we don't have access to go in and keep their money. They have access to that money. The other account is the match account. And like Roxanne and Lisa mentioned earlier, this we definitely want to keep it separate. The participants can't go in and touch this money, and we'll discuss later how they can withdraw on emergency basis. So as the custodial account, the IDA participant, like I said, does not have access to it, and any other transactions must be approved through the IDA administrator. Okay, are there any questions so far just about the application process and just getting the accounts set up? No questions? I will keep going. Is there anything in the chat, Alexa?
There is nothing in the chat at this time.
Okay, thanks. Okay, so deposits and match. So when we're opening up these accounts, each participant is required to deposit at least $25. Obviously, they can deposit more, but 25 is the minimum. An account should be matched by administrators at least quarterly. We can't stress that enough. There's been situations where we've had to go back in the past just to verify the date that the participant did put their money in their savings account. And unfortunately, because of turnover and other situations, the IDA administrator did not submit that match claim. So we had to go back just to verify, for example, that the deposit was made in the previous program year. So we definitely want to stay on top of that. And here's just some typical ideas of how they can create a savings plan so that we can set them up to be successful. Um, let's see. So next we're going to discuss just some financial education and training. So the IDA participants are recommended to complete at least 6 hours of training. This includes core financial education and asset goal specific training. So we actually used to have a different requirement. It used to be 6 hours required for the core financial and 6 for the asset goal specific. Um, However, over the years, we've really had some flexibility in leaving it more up to the IDA administrator to divvy out the amount of hours. So we still recommend 6 hours total. However, like I've mentioned in the past, some participants may need a little bit more hours of training. And it all depends on their asset as well. If they're a first time home buyer and they're really struggling, you may recommend even more courses for them. Uh, and this just discusses that IHCDA, we no longer mandate a specific curriculum. In the manual, there are a list of topics to include in the training. So for example, um, one of the financial education training courses you can select is identifying how and to when to use credit. And these trainings can take place individually in group meetings. A lot of IDA administrators partner up with, banks and other community agencies to provide the training. So this is big. So this was also on the timeline. Participants cannot make any withdrawals until the training is complete. And we strongly suggest that they complete that training within that first year, and get it out of the way so that they can, save consistently. So when it comes down to making that asset purchase, they've already completed all of the requirements, and we're not, waiting on a course or anything like that getting us held up. Okay, so asset specific training. So, in addition to the regular financial education, the participants are required to complete the asset goal specific training. So, depending on what they choose as their asset goal. So, for example, someone buying a home, they can complete home ownership counseling. There's different courses such as learn how to avoid foreclosure. For someone expanding or starting a new business, developing a business plan is required. So we want to help them through developing that business plan, and also coming up with ideas and how they're going to develop a marketing plan. So there's a ton of topics and ideas in the manual that you can review. Account withdrawals. All right. So, if approved, participants can make withdrawals, and I'm going to kind of discuss what that will look like. So, they have to be successfully in the program. They have to have already deposited $25, use their earned income as the source of funds for their deposits, completed all the trainings that we just talked about, and are in compliance with their savings plan agreement. You can also see the manual for more ideas. So next I'm going to cover some of the steps when we are looking at the withdrawal process. So they really need to, the participants should be communicating with you. They don't need to call you the day before or the weekend before, um, letting you know they are ready to make a withdrawal. So we ask that they give us at least 2 to 4 weeks, as an anticipated purchase date. And depending on the asset, I know a lot of um, homeownership people that have that as their goal sometimes, that could be unrealistic if they have to lock something in quickly. However, if they foresee their plan and if they can give you enough notice, they really should be giving you several weeks notice of when they're ready for that withdrawal. So when they're ready, they need to gather all the necessary documents for that purchase and all of that. Nothing has changed. So everything is on the IDA website if you need to get a hold of some of these documents. So the participant should schedule an appointment with the administrators to complete the asset purchase withdrawal form together. They should bring in any copies of bills or invoices, and also make arrangements with the administrator for the check disbursement to the third party vendor. So I know we discussed this during one of our monthly meetings, and I know some stores are no longer accepting check. So IHCDA, we did come up with, I guess, a few scenarios in which you would not use check disbursement. So, say for example, you have someone starting a new business, and they need material from Lowe's or Home Depot. So, gift cards are allowable if it is the exact amount. Same with any possible prepaid debit cards. If the agency is in agreement to claim that on their admin claims, should there be any fees to pay a vendor. So I know some of the vendors and everything literally is electronic and online now. So we definitely want to work with you guys on creating a process for this. So if there's anything or any questions that come up along the way or any barriers, let us know. Reach out to us and we can work through that to ensure the purchase is made. And last, the participant returns the copies and receipts resulting from the asset purchase. So if they go out and buy a car, we need to be seeing the documentation of that purchase. Okay, emergency withdrawals. We all know, things happen along this 4-year process of the grant. So here's just some examples of emergency withdrawals should they need to be approved. For any reason, if a participant needs to prevent eviction or foreclosure, that is extreme circumstance to request an emergency withdrawal. Also, if there's any sudden medical care expenses or any urgent life or death situation, of course, those would be allowable. um, we want our participants to be comfortable. So if they need to make a decision to spend their savings at that point in time, we want to be supportive to them. With that being said, there are some stipulations with the emergency withdrawals. So they can only take out of their own personal savings account. Obviously, they can't get into the match account. And then another stipulation, it must be repaid within 12 months of the withdrawal date. So please be sure if they are making this emergency withdrawal, that you guys are dating the document, and that they have the full understanding that they should repay it within 12 months to stay active in the IDA program. So once the emergency withdrawal has been approved, the match funds for qualified withdrawals are prohibited until such time that the emergency withdrawal has been repaid. We're not going to continue matching them or anything like that until they have repaid. Okay, account closeout, sorry. So a graduate. So a graduate is someone who has successfully completed the program. They've received all the applicable match funds. They've made the asset purchase and they've completed the program. It says 3 years, but we all know ideally, as long as it's by that 4-year mark, it's going to be a little longer than 3 years, calendar year wise. To close out an account, the graduate must complete an IDA closeout form. And if any funds remain in their personal account after the person has already graduated, we're going to return that money to them. And then if there's any additional money, obviously the money that the state has matched gets returned to the state. And then the graduate will be ineligible for IDA in the future. So this is just a one-time thing. If they enroll in the program, and whether if they graduate or don't graduate, they are only eligible for a one-time IDA to be IDA participant. All right, so non-graduates in this program. So this is someone that's been terminated from the program for several reasons. They've either made an unauthorized withdrawal from the savings. It says or match account, but they technically don't have access to pull out of the match account. So they can't make any unauthorized withdrawals. So if they voluntarily chose to terminate due to personal circumstances, obviously they would be considered a non-graduate. If they get into the program and kind of see that this is not attainable for them, they may voluntarily terminate themselves. So if they're exceeding the 3-year period, and the expiration date has gone and come and they have no intentions on making their purchase, we definitely want to push them as we're approaching the expiration date. However, we've come across, a circumstance that someone kind of just left their IDA account open. Um, and I believe it was maybe like, I don't know, 5 or 6 years past the expiration date, um, which was very disturbing. I'm not sure how it stayed open that long. So we don't want to just keep the accounts open. We must close them. So we want to ensure they know the stipulations. if someone's moved out of the state, so this is strictly an IDA Indiana program. If someone moves out of the state midway, they need to communicate with the administrator and come up with a plan to get their savings if they've saved anything. We can't continue to match people, unfortunately, once they move out of the state of Indiana. And like mentioned before, they're going to want to complete the IDA closeout form. And then if any funds remain in their personal account, we'll return that back to them. And if any funds on the match side, they're going to return it back to HCDA. And also, no brainer, the graduate won't be eligible for IDA in the future. So a lot of times we get close to ending a grant and we see that the participant um, came onto the grant maybe a year after it opened, or their house won't be done in time, and we're coming up on the end of the grant year. So in extreme circumstances, we have to reassign the participants. So as administrators, you have the option to reassign participants from an older grant to a new one, or vice versa if it was awarded in multiple grants. So what does that look like? So say, for example, everyone knows the 2018 grant just ended. So if the same agency has a slot in their 2019 grant, um, and the participant plans to make a purchase, early next year, that would be a great conversation to have with the participant um, in reassigning them to the 2019 grant, being that that 2019 grant closes next year in 2023. So an IDA participant must have a life-changing event that alters their life circumstances. So we've really been flexible on this rule. I'm a firm believer on supporting our participants. So if they're getting a house built and they've already started the process, I feel like that is very substantial. So we want to support them. So if we need to work with them to reassign them to another grant, should a slot open, we will do so. And then the agency, as administrators, you guys are allowed to reassign one participant per grant during the term of the grant. And any exceptions may be made at the discretion of IHCDA. So that's just, emailing the IDA inbox, speaking with me, just letting me know the situation. And if we need to alter some things around, we can discuss waivers, or we can discuss reassigning the participant to another grant. So this just kind of talks about the process. So it can be complicated, and that's why I said definitely communicate with me, email the inbox. We typically will include claims because in circumstances we may have to return the funds to HCDA and go through a process to switch the person to another grant. Okay, so here's the claim schedule. We ask that administrators submit these quarterly. So it's really the same every year. The next one coming up looks like it'll be October 31st. And that would have captured the first quarter of this year. Um, so it's not really surprising if there aren't any claims on this new grant, because like we mentioned, the first 6 months, we're really just engaging the community, getting participants, getting everyone trained. So it's not rare or uncommon to not have any claims discussing this first claim due date, October 31st. However, if you have other open IDA awards, obviously you want to submit these claims. If you have a 2020 or 2021 award, the claim due date is really the same. All right, and Roxanne really kind of went into detail. So when we're submitting these admin claims, make sure you're uploading the documentation the invoices, the general ledgers, any payroll or receipts, please upload those to the IHCDA online. And then for the match claims tool, the claims for match claims, the claims tool will be required. I know we kind of went over the match claims tool earlier in this year, I believe, during one of the monthly calls. However, I do plan to have another training just focusing more on that claims tool because I know it can be confusing. But should you have any questions that come about before then, please reach out and let me know. Are there any questions so far?
There are a couple questions and comments in the chat.
Okay.
The, the first one is IDA program year from July 1 to June 30th?
Yes, it is.
Um,
So the grant that just started, just to kind of be precise, started July 1st, 2022. And then the grant will expire June 30th, 2026.
the second thing is a comment. It says some banks want individuals to complete first home buyers training within the past 12 months of their loan application. So first year or two may be too soon.
Okay. Um, for what type of training did you say, Alexa?
First home buyers training.
Okay. So really we're going to want to look at the situation. Maybe we can offer other trainings up front. Like we said, that first year, and then should the person get approved, we're looking at the person getting approved toward the end of that grant year. We're hoping they can, if they need to go back to take a specific course or if they've already taken it, that 4-year span should allow them enough time. Did I answer that correctly, or does whoever asked the question want to elaborate on that question?
Maria, if you want to come off mute,
Yeah,
go ahead.
that's me. I've had some banks who have told folks who are going in for a mortgage loan that they have had to have some sort of first time home buyers training within the past 12 months before they'll approve them for that training. I mean, for that loan.
Okay. And then let me ask you this. Where along the lines is the person applying for the loan? Is this the last year of the grant that they're applying
Yes,
for the loan?
it is because
Oh,
in
okay.
the Ach community it's that you get approved for 90 days. And then if you don't find a
Uh-huh.
home, then you have to go through the process and get reapproved again.
Oh,
So,
okay. Okay, that makes sense. So I guess in that situation, it would just be a case by case scenario. So if your agency knows that this bank has that policy up front, maybe
mhm,
communicate with the participant um, and kind of map out what the training will look like. So obviously you want them to complete the core training up front, but if that specific training needs to be more recent to that last year, make a plan to have them conduct that training, before applying for the loan, if that's the requirement.
okay, thanks.
Sure. That was a good question.
The final question in the chat for now is if they spend less than the total match, can they still be a graduate?
Um, if they spend less than the total match, yes. However, in policy, there is a number, um, and I don't know right off the top of my head, they still need to save a certain amount. So they still can't be considered a graduate, for example, if they've only put in $50 and we've matched them after the end of the 4 years. There is a number that we want them to at least attain, even if they're not saving the entire 1,500. We know that's not realistic for every single participant because that's not everyone's goal. But I can look that up maybe later, and there is a specific number that we do ask that they attain to be considered a graduate.
I believe that's it on the questions right now.
Okay, awesome. We will keep going then. Okay, so program admin. So just a little bit more in depth. So the IDA program participant agreement. So the IDA administrators will receive this agreement from IHCDA to manage all the IDA accounts. So this is one of many forms that is on our website, and I will show you exactly where to locate these. And on your actual agreement, or on the agreement the participant is signing, I'm sorry, you're going to have the effective start date. So this is the first day that the person is enrolled. They can make that $25 savings. We want to make sure that we're dating the document and saving it appropriately. And the expiration date, of course, is the last day of the agreement. And once that expiration date has come, agencies can't make any more claims, like I mentioned before, unless you've talked to IHCDA and we've worked out a plan, whether that be a waiver or reassignment. We will discuss that further. Okay, admin budgets. So the admin budget is not tied to match funds. The IDA administrators, the rules are the same. So you are still eligible to use the entire admin budget, even if the IDA administrators do not use all the match funds. Unless we see this as a problem in the future, which we just hope, everyone's honest. And if you are putting people through the process, you have the right to use the entire budget. However, if you have no participants signed on to the program, you can't. I'm not sure the claims will accept your claim because they're going to ask, what was the admin money used on if there's no participants on that specific grant. And then administrators must submit these expenses within 45 days of the occurrence. So remember that the claims must be submitted by the end of the contract term. For more info, there is a PDF file that kind of has the breakdown of IHCDA claims as well as the IHCDA claims manual. So return of funds for the participant. So it's a 3-step process. So the agency needs to fill out the IDA account closeout form that the client also has to sign. Step 2, the agency needs to send the closeout form to the financial institution so that they can actually release the funds from the participant savings account to the participant. And then last, place a copy of the document in the client's file. Okay, so return of funds to IHCDA. So you're still going to want to fill out that account closeout form and send that to the financial institution. You're going to enter the claim on IHCDA online and just be specific on, you're returning the match savings money. And then there's just different stipulations. We ask you do that within 5 days of submitting the closeout form to your banks, and just make a copy of that and save the IHCDA online claims receipt. So you're going to email the documents to IDA. You can CC claims as well. And then you're going to, have the closeout form and the claim receipt so that I know that you're returning the funds. A lot of times we get money back and I don't always know what grant year it's supposed to go in. So it's very helpful. You can never give too much information. And then you're going to place all the documents in the participant's file. So maintaining participants' file. So, good management and good record keeping, there's different practices. So you're going to keep all of that information in the client files, any IDA policies that the person has signed, any progress or any additional notes the client or participant has made, you're going to keep it in the file. And here's just some elements of a good client file. You want it, readable, certified, transparent, consistent, and secure. Please make sure that this information is stored in a safe place. And I believe we ask that you keep it for 5 years before disposal. and this is 5 years after the expiration date. All right, so on our IHCDA website, you will see all the 2022 forms or required documents. The match claims tool is up here. The application, everything has been updated should you need to utilize the updated calculation worksheet, the savings plan agreement, all of that good stuff. So the additional resources that I was referring to is going to be right here under IDA resources. There's just a ton of other things that are not up here that still apply to this grant year. Okay, so next steps for this program year. So if you're not already registered, I think a majority of everyone is on this webinar anyway. You're going to want to reach out to our claims department and make sure that you have access to the system. Um, if you have any final partnership documents that you need to go over with the financial institution, you're going to want to reach out to them. Like I mentioned, I believe I have a majority of everyone's MOAs. Only need a few more, but if there's anything else that the bank requires you, you want to just have that open communication with them. And like we discussed before, if anything has changed, you're going to want to submit those ACH forms. You can submit those to claims and CC the IDA inbox on there. If you're a new agency or if both accounts have changed, you're going to want to submit two different forms. And like Lisa said at the top, if you'll please just specify if it's for the match account or for the, your admin account. And then for the most part, we just encourage you to begin your program outreach, getting those participants engaged and finding ways to kind of market IDA. I know it's one of the smaller Indiana programs that there's still a lot of people that don't know what it does, but I think it's a great opportunity. Um, and I really appreciate all the hard work you guys do. I know it's not easy, but we do appreciate it. Are there any questions?
I am not seeing anything in the chat right now, but if anybody does, you can put it in the chat now or raise your hand.
Okay. Well, if you do think of a question later, feel free to email IDA, the IDA website. Any program questions, you're going to email IDA at ihcda.in.gov. Any claim questions will go to our claims inbox. The email's right here. Like I mentioned at the beginning, this webinar will be posted to the IDA partner website. Hopefully by the beginning of next week. So if you know someone in your agency that wasn't able to see the webinar, the slides will be posted as well. Anything else? All right, there we go. Okay. Um, if nothing else, thank you so much for your time. And I will let everyone have a wonderful day. Thank you. Bye.
you wanted me to hang out with Robbie.
No, no.
Tell him bye, Felicia.
No.